How's it going, Andrea?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. We're going to be a small team tonight.
Oh, that's okay. Sometimes you get more done that way.
True.
We're doing a obviously end of year thing for Southeast. So at 4 o'clock, I had the So Long Southeast committee meeting, and I'm like, all right. Like at 5 o'clock, I have this meeting. I'm like just jumping from one thing to the next.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I think we'll, oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll probably go pretty quickly tonight, but.
Yeah. But I did I emailed Sarah, and I was telling her I was excited that she gets to go to the lacrosse game because my son used to play. I said, and I miss watching. I'm happy for you to go.
Well, and they have perfect weather. Like
Yes.
It is beautiful to be out there playing.
Yep. I just hope wherever they're playing, the field's dried out enough because sometimes it's not fun to play in the mud. But
that's true.
Yeah, I'm hoping they had a chance to dry out the field a little bit. But yeah, it's a fun sport to watch. I see Cole, he's getting so, I don't mean big and a bit, I'm just saying is he's like gotten tall and, you know, he's so much more independent. I should say matured. You just see him mature so much, and it's been fun watching him grow.
Oh, I agree. And it's funny because we don't I mean, you see some family once in a while. So we saw my sister this weekend, and she immediately heard how far he had come on his K sound, and she was like, Cole, your K sounds great. So,
awesome.
It was some good support for him.
Yeah. Michael still, when he gets any chance to still be with them or do something with them, Michael grabs it.
Oh, if we were to ask him today, like no prompting, who's his best friend, Daddy? Who's your second best friend? It'll probably be Mr. Lennon. That's usually the order he gives us.
Yeah, they definitely are best buddies. Oh.
Hey, Emily.
Hi there.
Emily.
So we are going to be a little bit of a small group tonight. Once Christine joins us, that's kind of our group tonight.
Okay, great.
Oh, here we go. Hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
I just walked in my door.
Thank you all so much for being here.
I'm like, do I stay at work? Do I go home?
Yep.
I decided to come home because it's too nice.
Well, I think this is the group, so I guess we'll call it to order. And I'm thinking there were no public comments.
No.
So if we take a moment just to look at the minutes from March, I don't know, is there a motion to approve in a second? There's only a couple of us.
Motion to approve.
Great. Am I allowed to second, Denise?
I don't think so. I was going to say, I think it has to be Andrea because I'm actually not allowed to either.
I second it.
Sorry.
Great. Are we all in favor?
Aye.
Wow. Great. Okay. Denise sent out the activity booth and food booth application. So I think we want to just do a final review of that before it gets sent out.
At the last meeting, we talked a little bit about people kind of looking it over if you could before, but if you haven't, I included it here so you can just kind of do that last look. We can talk about any changes.
Yeah, did anyone have any thoughts or feedback?
I got a little bit from by email from Ginny, and I'm trying to remember if I put it in here already. Yes, so she suggested adding notice of the trial run, the pilot. So I did put that
perfect.
in this already. And she had one other edit, just on the final page. Please, to include the low waste plans. But I didn't hear back from anybody else.
No, I
Not
mean,
that we're that big of a team.
it looks good to me. I don't know if anyone else here has any thoughts or edits, but I'm thinking this looks really thorough.
Yes, I agree.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
So then Denise, what's the timeline for this? They'll go out pretty soon?
Yeah, so what will happen, we actually just switched over, this year we're using a new website program. I believe we're switching to Squarespace. I can't remember where we were previously. So Kathleen actually has just set up the new website. So if you go now, it's the new format, new server. And so what she'll do is she's already put up the craft booth information. So she'll put these applications up onto the website, and we'll do a little internal kind of sharing through social media and our email lists. And then I'll contact the previous participants, which is for the most part, a lot of the contacts that participate. We are really great to have a good year-to-year continuation. We don't have a lot of attrition.
Right. Is there anything that the committee can do to help with that process?
Yeah, what I would say is if you have any ideas of any organizations, businesses, or clubs, anything that you are aware of that either you don't think they've participated or you think that they really would be such a good fit, we should just really give them an individual outreach. I think you can email me individually and I'll add them to our list and do some individual contacting for those groups.
And then I would say if you need any help with like following up with past participants or new ones, let us know if we can take anything off your plate.
Oh, thank you. I mean, thankfully at this point, it's a bunch of emails.
Yeah.
For the most part, this is not too challenging. I tend to do a lot of follow-up in June, July,
Sure.
because the registration deadline is August. So just trying to really get people to confirm participation.
And I'm thinking this is also where we're trying to find new craft participants for the craft booths.
Yes, so that it is currently online. I've also submitted it to, there's kind of a web organization that sends a monthly newsletter, and they have a good presence on social media. I believe they're called the Connecticut Craft Booth Connection. So I've already submitted it there, and we should be in the next monthly announcement from them.
Right. Wonderful. Were there any other thoughts or questions or items to discuss with the activity booth and food booth application? No? Okay.
No.
Let's move on to update on sponsor outreach.
So this is mostly me just providing you a little information tonight. We have just finished drafting the official sponsorship materials. So we have a brochure that gets sent out to a list of 90 potential sponsors, 90 plus thereabouts. And so I was kind of debating how best to go about this. So what we've done previously is I've kind of sent it and people have sort of added, read through it and gone through and but I thought it might actually be better just to kind of brainstorm around the room or around the Zoom room. Any businesses that you think might be a good fit as a sponsor for the event. And then I can either add them to the list or kind of add a little star on our list and say, you know what, that has a little more support for outreach.
I know Mansfield OBGYN is usually a sponsor, or usually has a booth. And I don't remember if it was Celebrate Mansfield or if it was like the Hebron like festival. But I remember Dr. Gildersleeve doing like, hi, my cat's been alone all day and she's very needy. He was doing like laparoscopic, like showing people how he does laparoscopic. So maybe when we reach out to them, ask if they have any cool techniques that they can show people that's really interesting.
That's a great idea. And I know I'm hoping that they'll be able to, I mean, I'm pretty confident they will be back with us. Last fall, they weren't ready yet to have a presence in a public event. So they did sponsor, but they didn't have a booth last year. So I'm hoping this year they'll be able to come back. So I will definitely suggest that.
Yeah.
Is select therapy on the list?
I believe they are, but we can do sort of I'll add a star kind of for extra follow-up there.
Yeah, because I know, similar to what Christine was saying, when we had one of our Be Well employee, I'm trying to think, like health days or whatever they had, they also had this manner of showing people what good posture is and, you know, how you can check certain things. So I know that they kind of had this little bit of an interactive way to self-check certain things. So I know that, like I said, they participated in that.
Oh, that sounds great. And I know because their office is right on Dog Lane, we've tried to fit them in with a booth kind of near their office location.
Right. Okay.
Are most of the businesses in downtown stores, do they usually sponsor?
They do not.
No, well, we should get on Dog Lane's list and be like, why are you not sponsoring? So I was speaking with a couple friends and an idea that came up, and I don't know if we can do this or what's involved, but last year I had gone to Glastonbury had like a Apple festival, and it's big, and they had like carnival rides. I mean, like it's not what we would be doing, but they had like a beer and wine garden that you could buy a ticket for, and you could only drink that beverage inside the gated space. And maybe we could approach Dog Lane as like, hey, we'll designate that space in front of your restaurant. Would you want to do a beer and wine garden? I don't know. I know there's like booze that makes things complicated.
Good, but complicated. But then let me ask you this: if they're not technically a sponsor, but I'm sure they're still going to be open for business that day, and they have their outdoor tables, like, are we infringing if they're not looking to sponsor? Do we infringe upon their business, or not? Like, how does that work with us and them on an event like this?
That's a great question. So any of the restaurants in the downtown that have outdoor seating are absolutely welcome to continue using it during the event. We're definitely not going to limit any of the use of that. What we try to do is actually encourage the businesses to tie in what they're doing to the festival. So for instance, for restaurants, we usually suggest either on their outdoor signage, like if they have an A-frame or anything, invite people from the festival in, or offer like a special for the day, either renaming it. And so we do a lot of outreach to try and get the restaurants to help tie in. One of the things I think it's interesting, if we were to do like a beer and wine garden, I do think that area near Dog Lane, it's an interesting question of how much, like if they were to sponsor the event and we wanted to like host that there, they already legally, I mean, because that's part of their service area, they are allowed to serve there. So we wouldn't need, I know, for instance, if we set it up in another part of the downtown, it is fairly complicated. You have to have the entire area fenced off. And then there's kind of an application process through the state to get approval to sell alcohol in that area. Definitely doable, but a little complicated. But I do wonder for that section of Dog Lane, because I mean, I almost wonder if, I wonder if it would be simpler. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, because I think that could be the best spot, and they could, so maybe we can approach them with a sponsorship, right? They sponsor, hey, we have this idea of a beer wine garden, and maybe it can be a dual sponsorship because they have two businesses in town, and it can be Dog Lane and Fenton Grill, and
Well, and Denise, so normally we set up those tables with a ton of seating right kind of outside of Dog Lane, so people can get food at Dog Lane and bring it out, I would think, and just sit there and eat if they wanted to. They're allowed to get beer and wine from Dog Lane and bring it out to those tables and sit, right?
Yeah,
Or
that's one of
technically,
those
like, we don't ask.
yeah,
so,
technically, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
We don't, it's open for people to use, and we don't ask them how they're using it.
So if it's
Basically,
not designated like a wine or beer garden, it's a little
Yeah,
bit more
because-
flexible.
and technically from the business side, they're actually also supposed to ask people not to take the alcohol off site either.
Got it. But it's
so
so
it-
close
it's-
to their sidewalk, so.
Yeah. And I think the way we've handled it is just that it sort of just like a quiet approval by not asking. But yeah, I mean, technically it is not.
Got it.
If we were allowing people, it just gets complicated.
It gets more complicated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if we were to reach out to Dog Lane and ask them and say, we'd like to designate and work with you, since you have this wonderful outdoor seating, can we work with you to tie that in? And then we can recommend to people at the festival, if you'd like to enjoy a beverage, visit our sponsor, Dog Lane, for
Yeah.
their outdoor seating. I mean,
Yep.
that might be a great way to add that component in a simple way.
Especially because I feel like it could be cool also if maybe they use it to highlight local breweries and wineries. Like I know that they serve quite a few Connecticut based, and maybe this is like a special kind of opportunity for them to bring more in, or just like highlight those in a way that it's kind of celebrating Mansfield and the surrounding, businesses as
Yeah.
well.
yeah, because I know like Dog Lane has like bottles of wine and bottles of beer in cans, but Fenton could probably get a couple
That's-
local kegs and have them be like a specialty thing.
Like a little taster. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now we're
No,
adding
actually-
another project now, Denise.
I know.
And
Sorry.
this is the time to add those ideas. If we were talking about it in August, I'd be more
Right.
nervous.
But if we did, like you mentioned, maybe a co-sponsorship, is that something they could co-sponsor with Hops 44?
That's a
And
great
get Hops
idea.
Yeah.
too.
Or down in
That's smart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
downtown park?
Because they haven't gotten a booth before, have they?
No, so last year, they did sponsor the event. We
Oh.
were really happy to work with Hops 44 on that, but they decided not to have a booth at the event.
This
So
year?
that might be interesting, yeah, to connect them
Yeah.
for kind of a co-sponsorship.
Yeah.
I know the other thing, I actually have had Dog Lane in my mind. I read there was a nice article in their Chronicle because they're having their 10th anniversary this year. So I was like,
Oh.
oh, that might be a nice way to kind of work with them on that too.
Yeah,
Piggyback, yeah, celebration type of thing.
that's true.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they get tapped a lot for support from Yukon people or other, so I want to make sure it doesn't feel like we're like, and we need something else from you. But actually it's a nice way to say like, we want to celebrate Mansfield and your role, like, because they've
Yeah.
played they are such a big part of the downtown stores area.
And like
Absolutely.
they're like a founding
Right?
member.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like if they left, there would be like nothing there.
When I came to Yukon for my interview, downtown stores was still being built, and that's where I went right after I interviewed for my job, because it was like the one place that was open, and it's just like that's been my go-to. I feel like that for so many people, Dog Lane is like kind of a major
Well,
business, or
that's it. There's so in different areas, so many things have come and gone already.
right, but it's always the
But they were one of the first there, and they're still
Yeah.
there. It's definitely
Wow.
a go-to place.
I wonder,
Yeah, I
Denise, if we
agree.
could do something to honor them at the festival. I mean, Not that we want to like offend the other businesses because we don't know all of the anniversaries,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
they have been so supportive of, I feel like, Yukon and Mansfield. And
I feel like those businesses in that first building, and I know they're broken up really weird, but that first building has I think the longest lasting tenants between Moe's and Dog Lane and Subway and the cookies and Muya. Like those have been there, I think, at least as a collective group, the longest.
yeah,
Yeah, I actually wonder if they're all coming on that 10-year this year. Like, I'm not sure if that's when.
I think
I
Moe's
would-
is pretty close, and maybe
Because-
Subway and Insomnia too. Muya, I feel like, was a tad bit later.
Little
yeah,
late.
we opened at the Ballard Institute of March of 2014. And I mean, a lot of those places were already established or kind of open just a little bit before us. So I think, yeah, wow, 2023 must be probably a big year. And yeah,
Maybe that's when did the downtown open? Did it open in 2012 or was it 2013?
Yeah, my apologies. I don't know this offhand, but I can look it up really quickly.
Maybe if it's next year, I can't remember. I based everything in a timeline of like before my daughter and like after my daughter, and I can't remember where she falls. And it was like around the same time.
I was thinking it was 2013, but maybe it was 2012 for some of them. I like, because
That
I
first building, maybe because it was the first one up.
yeah, because I moved at the end of 2013 to, but Dog Lane had already been there. Wow. Okay.
I wonder if it
We're
can,
getting-
we can do like a rolling celebration of like to just honor the businesses that have been there incrementally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Denise, we're adding more to your plate. It's no longer celebrate Mansfield, it's celebrate downtown stores year.
Well, but I
But
do, I
that's-
think this is it's a
it's an
great
awesome
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop looking around.
Okay.
The first date I found there was 2017 was when it was finished. So I'll have to dig a little bit to find when the first building opened.
Great.
So then also when we were talking about like a wine and beer garden, I don't know if logistically it causes a problem, but if you think about it, that space between Muya and what was Gino's actually has more of an area that you can kind of enclose,
It's like a
Versus-
patio.
like a patio, exactly, versus trying to put it in the front of the side of Dog Lane. But I don't know if Dog Lane has to use their section to do anything, or if we could actually try to get it just a little bit further down in a more opened area that it's probably be easier to contain.
I would need to check, but I think their liquor permit is just for the sidewalk that's next to their business. But we're early enough. If this is something that we want to do, that's not out of the realm of possibility. In the case of just kind of first thought about that courtyard, we would definitely need to do the closures on kind of the front and the back. And I think we would probably need to work with Muya because they have some seating. It kind of varies seasonally how much they have out there. But whether they'd want to be a part of it, I don't think they sell alcohol. But it's worth looking into.
I just figured you got a little bit more of an open space there. to
Yeah,
house them.
I would imagine to get a temporary liquor permit like that would cost money. And how much would that cost? And would we cover it or would we ask the sponsors to cover it?
Right.
I think it would go hand in hand because it's not part of our current budget. We definitely would need to find a sponsor to help us do this because it's also the price of the alcohol for the sale. So I think to move forward with it, we would need to have a kind of combination sponsor and partner so that they would be willing to kind of sponsor it and partner to sort of be the sale to sell the alcohol. I can look into it. I don't mind kind of looking into. I know I've read it before. I would just need to review myself, the details of the temporary liquor license.
I think it was 2012, Denise, according to the Hartford
Okay.
Current. Um, thinking of, like, I know we were talking about sponsorship, so I'm thinking we're trying to think of like financial sponsors for the overall festival. I know Price Chopper is a sponsor, and I know you've approached Big Y. Does Big Y sponsor financially at all?
No, I think it's worth trying again. The problem with Big Y is they have very specific parameters of what they will support, and the festival doesn't meet their initial guidelines. That's not to say we can't try kind of just calling and sort of talking them to see if we might be able to work around that. But yeah, initially we don't meet their requirements for sponsorship.
Okay.
What about Eastbrook Animal Hospital? Have we asked
Yeah,
them in the past?
exactly. Yeah, they've kind of gone back and forth. So they're on the list, and I'll add that star because they've been a great partner in the past.
And what about some of the new businesses in the Eastbrook Mall? Like some of the stores are new. I don't know if that's too like it's to be too corporate versus local, but a local business, but you know, there's a Michael's in there
Ooh.
now,
Frogbridge.
Frog Bridge, which that's where my son just left to go work.
Yeah. And they're new to Mansfield, so maybe.
Yeah, because they were set up in Willimantic the whole time. I can check on that because I'm friends with the owner. Her son and my son are very good friends.
Thank
So
you.
I-
Yeah, that would be great.
But even like Old Navy, like I don't know if you're looking for more of the larger corporations or if more of like the local owned
From my
businesses.
perspective, the larger corporations are just a little more challenging because they have more really specific guidelines for who they will support and what they will support. And the process can take a little bit longer. Again, it doesn't put it out of the running. It is a little bit more challenging. And I remember last year we looked into Old Navy and they had a donation program as opposed to a sponsorship. So I think that's why we didn't fall. But I can go through the current list for what's operating in Eastbrook Mall and kind of take a look if there's anything there that we should really be reaching out to.
Well, like I said, I'll take care of Frog Bridge for you.
Thank you. And I'll email, I'll send you a copy. Actually, I'll wait because we can mail a physical copy of the brochure if they're interested.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. What would I know sponsorship, but what does that entail for her?
Okay, so then I will. What I'll do, I'll email it to the team so everybody has it just for your reference. Kathleen just finished the brochure. It looks good. So we have 3 levels of sponsorship. The platinum, gold, and silver. And the sort of 3, of course, we're always willing to work with people for any level of contribution, but the 3 levels that we sort of ask for are $500, $1,000, and $2,000. Those are kind of the 3 levels.
That feels very reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. These levels were chosen before I came, but I wouldn't change them. I think that it's approachable for a lot of different sized businesses.
You may even want a booth of some sort. So
yeah, and especially, I mean, they could do a really cool demo at their booth. I mean, I think that would be fantastic.
right.
Yeah, I will send this out actually right now so that everybody has it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk.
Denise, can you remind me of some of like the kind of regular sponsors that we have? Like I know the Oaks and Price Chopper.
Absolutely. So I'll hold off sending that email. The last year's sponsors were Barnes and Noble College, Berkshire Bank, Design Center East, GM Thompson's and Sons, they
Oh.
always offer an in-kind sponsorship with the hay bales.
Oh,
Hops 44, Kahan, Kerensky, and Capicella. Las Parking. People's United Bank, Perception Programs, Inc., Price Chopper. Ray Reid Soccer School, Renewal by Anderson, SBM Charitable Foundation, the Adventure Park at Stores, the Connecticut Baseball School, the Oaks on the Square, Yukon Foundation, and previously Willimantic Waste Paper Company.
Mm.
So we are going to try the new waste company. And then we have a few smaller donors from our supporter pool.
because I was kind of wondering about like local doctors, real estate, and lawyers' offices. It sounds like you had at least one law firm, maybe.
Yes, yep, we've had some, and this is where, I mean, it does vary a little bit year to year. We have had kind of varying law firms and doctors' offices.
What about Ferrigno Realtor?
Yeah,
Let's hunt down Steve.
I mean, he's on our
Steve.
board. So.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Steve, I find I will definitely put him down. So because Steve is a member of our board, I do know that we do ask him to support the partnership in a lot of ways. But we can definitely add him to the list.
And then there's what Weicker across the street from them. And then there's a Remax down 195. I think her name is Erica. What about the State Farm guy?
Mhm.
Anthony Raji or no? Is
What
it
did he do? Oh, he did something last year. He did a match or something, right?
Yep. Yeah, last year we worked with Anthony Raji for it was called Quotes for Good. And so for anybody who went to State Farm for an insurance quote, $10 was donated to the festival,
But I
which
wonder
was
if
it was a great program.
I wonder if this year we can ask him to be a sponsor outright.
But if that program was successful, is that something we want to offer to Allstate across the street?
Mm.
It actually, unfortunately, we didn't do that well with it.
Yeah.
We tried hard and we thought that it was a nice way to connect to a local real estate agent and kind of to promote everybody all together, but it wasn't for either him or us. It really wasn't as successful as we would have hoped.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm thinking it would probably be more beneficial just for him to sponsor at one of the levels, at least for us.
Well, and he would get, I mean, he would get similar promotion kind of to the way that we promoted last year with the Quotes for Good. So, I mean, that's, I think, the benefit of the sponsorship for any kind of local business that's looking to grow. They get a lot of name recognition, both digitally and in print materials.
What about Champagne?
Yep.
What about any of the local tree services?
Mm.
I can't think of anyone in particular. I have my personal favorite, but he's in Eastford. I don't know if that matters. But I know there's a lot of smaller tree companies that are around that might want to take advantage of it. God knows they charge enough to cut down a tree.
Mhm.
No, I can definitely look around. I know, and again, this is kind of looking at the kind of history of sponsorship. I believe we have had some in the past, but not in the last few years.
I'm trying to think of some of the newer trucks that I've seen driving around, and like I can picture colors, but I can't picture names. I can look up too.
I'm just sending that brochure to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So when are you wanting to start, or maybe you already have the sponsorship outreach? Should we keep brainstorming and get ideas to you by a certain date?
Yeah, I think what's nice is we have a little bit of time. So we have this master list, as well as the names that we just spoke about. And so we are waiting, the brochure and the sponsorship letter has gone to the printer. So those will be back. Oh, we also have Gullimo offers us a great in-kind sponsorship for festival print materials. And they're wonderful. So they will be, those materials should be in either later this week or early next week. And so when those are in, we'll actually be sending out this initial mailing to this list and these names. But if there are other people that you think of, there's plenty of time to continue sending these sponsorship brochures. The deadline that we've asked for is July 7th. But that there's still a little flexibility there, kind of depending.
And the goal is to keep it kind of in the Mansfield area, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Mansfield, right? Like Design Center East. I don't know if that's technically like, do you have sponsors from surrounding towns?
Yeah, it's some. We do
Okay.
try to focus on Mansfield, but
Yeah.
we are definitely open to sponsorships from outside of the town. And Willimantic Waste is another great example.
Yeah.
But they're under new ownership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will reach out. We'll see what happens this year.
Okay. Well, if there's no other, immediate thoughts about sponsorships, do we want to move on to update on the reusable service items?
So this one is pretty easy. Unfortunately, I heard from Ginny is off this week. That's why she couldn't be with us. But she did let me know she received those samples of the plates that she was looking at, and she and her team sort of tested them in dishwashers and were not happy. They didn't think they held up well. So that is not really an option. Talking to her team, they really pushed for something that's a little bit more sustainable, whether it's stainless steel or something like that. The problem with that is going to be price. So Ginny is going to continue looking for options that are within our budget that we can do this pilot with. But that's where we are. That first option that she was looking at is not going to work.
Are there any like rental services that we could use in lieu of purchasing our own?
It's a great question. I don't know, but what I can do is sort of send that suggestion to Ginny as she's sort of looking to see if rental might, I mean, that also might save us the difficulty of washing them.
Yeah.
Them and storing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for like the pilot program, maybe renting makes sense because it like allows you the option to try something out and then like see how much we really like it. And then if it's like, this is perfect, then we can like look into buying our own. That I think would be cost effective, like long term. But like renting, if we could just get some to try it out and then have someone take them away and wash them, like that could be nice.
Yeah.
The only thing we have to worry about is, for argument's sake, they give us 1,000 bowls. How do we guarantee we're giving 1,000 bowls back?
Right.
So that's where it's going to get a little tricky, is definitely the collection of them.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
That's true.
Yeah. And I mean, we hope and fingers crossed, but I agree, if there's a rental option, that would make life a lot easier for everybody. But it would just be, what's the catch-22 there if they're not getting the full amount back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if, kind of depending on the company, if we might be able to, like, if they have a clause kind of for, just for a normal event, if you were to rent them, what the cost is for lost items. So I wonder if we can kind of build that
Take
into
out bowl insurance.
the budget or.
But I would even think renting it would probably even cost less than purchasing it. You would hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and I wonder because there are a lot of event companies that do rentals with like tables and chairs and all of the the flatware and plates and linens and
Definitely worth looking into.
So we'll, Denise, you'll follow up with Ginny, and then hopefully we'll hear from her maybe at the next meeting about some other options.
yeah.
So update on volunteer outreach.
All right, so Sarah and I are going to get together. We haven't yet to come up with a couple of ideas. I had at 4 o'clock today, I was at the So Long Southeast meeting, committee meeting, and Mo Butler, who's our PTO president, was there. And I asked her, you know, would she have any objection?
She's the treasurer.
Oh, the treasurer. I apologize. The treasurer.
Lana's the president.
Alana's the president. Okay, sorry. Anyway, but I asked her, would the PTO be open to us asking, you know, going through the PTO to ask for volunteers? And she said, absolutely. She doesn't see why not. So I'm sure the other school PTOs would be willing as well. And I mean, that, you know, that could be reaching out to EO Smith, the middle school, and all 3 elementary schools.
I believe there's a Mansfield Elementary School meeting coming up early May, I think. Denise, do you know? Because you've gone to those.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it's coming up. You're making me think, I don't think we actually got the date of what the next meeting, when the next meeting was.
And I didn't go last time, so
Mm.
too many things on my
I can
plate.
I can follow up and see if there's a date that's been set yet for that.
No, let me check my phone. Maybe we may have like pre-loaded them.
And I'm thinking is part of kind of this idea of volunteer outreach and planning to start to make a list of kind of the different volunteer tasks again, and thinking about how many people we'll actually need. Because then I figured we'll probably do the usual outreach to all the Yukon groups that like to volunteer as well.
Yeah. And I know Sarah said that definitely where the station was, the headquarters station for the volunteers last year was really a great location. And she had a couple of ideas as well, how to just improve on what was happening last year. So there's definitely things in motion
That's great.
for it.
And I would say, let me know. I know I put that file together, but it's clunky with all that volunteer stuff. So if you have questions about anything that's in there, definitely shoot me an email and I can kind of explain either what I meant by it or what the file, kind of how the file is set up.
Right.
I know one of the things, and I'll follow up, maybe I'll send just you and Sarah an email just to kind of keep it in our minds. I've started thinking about, this is about the time last year I started looking for area captains. So that might be a good kind of goal for us to sort of start thinking about.
Right. Okay.
Do you think EO Smith students would want to volunteer? Do they do volunteer services to, like, you know, apply for
Well,
college?
like they have the Leo Club and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for some of the seniors, like seniors have certain volunteer things that they try, community service hours that they try to put in.
Yeah, I've had students work with me at the Ballard Institute from EO Smith where they have to do like 8 hours, like a project. So we might be able to utilize some students in that way. I mean, I know like Sarah, weren't a couple of the students that we had working with us, Denise, last year, like Sarah's high school volunteers, and they were great.
And I know that Sarah was also going to look into, you know, whether or not they have some sort of environmental club that was going to be willing to wash the dishes. So, and I think she said she was going to see Lou or something and ask him. So she may actually have an answer on that already.
Okay, great.
I have another idea for the sponsorship. I'm sorry, I just thought of it. What about the graduate hotel?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Did the Nathan Hale ever sponsor in the past? I feel like I don't remember them being a sponsor.
Yeah, I would need to check our files. I don't think they did in 2019, but that they were right about to start that transition.
Yeah.
So they might have previously. Yeah, I would need to check.
I mean, I think that's really exciting because I feel like, I mean, I guess it's been the Graduate Hotel for a little bit, but like, I feel like they kind of transitioned right before COVID, right? So I don't think it's really
Yeah.
been like promoted as much as it could be. So this might be a nice opportunity to really like show them as a new presence in the town.
And it's pretty cool. Have any
Yeah.
of you been in there? Like they have like
No.
reclaimed like gym floor. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
that's
it.
a
I
good
think it's
one.
fabulous. Yeah, so great suggestion.
Good idea.
Sorry to backtrack.
No, that's a great backtrack.
No worries.
Okay, so maybe we'll Denise sounds like she's gonna send you all some stuff about volunteer outreach and we can follow up next time about that.
Yeah,
So
I'll
then-
follow up.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, just for clarity. So I know I had already put that big file together, so let me know if you have any questions, but I'll send an email to you and Sarah just to help focus kind of thinking about area captains to see if we
Right.
can get those set in the
Okay.
next month or two.
Okay.
Great.
Great. And then, okay, Christine has been so on top of it and sent a wonderful email. And I apologize, I didn't get back to you about some new ideas and activities to be tied into the Celebrate Mansfield. And you can see those outlined in the agenda. But Christine, do you want to talk about those a little bit and we can kind of see what might be
Yeah,
possible?
sure. So I'll be totally transparent. I stole these from other festivals, particularly my hometown. So,
That's where it comes from.
but I think they're good ideas. So I know we talked about having a climbing wall because we've had one in the past. I just think that kids love that, and it's something that can really engage them. I don't know where we would get one of those. Yoga sessions. So I reached out to Mia Matoma to see. So she runs yoga out of the Fitch House. Her and Glenn own the Fitch House. And I work with Glenn, so I got my in with him. And so she wrote me back. I told her that we were meeting this week and I would loop back with her on some more information. She was interested. I kind of pitched it in, would you be interested in doing like 3 or 4 little mini sessions? Maybe they run like 10 minutes or so, or 10 or 15 minutes and cycle through. She was really open to the idea, and I don't know if we want to reach out to anybody else. She's kind of like the only yoga teacher I know. I think one of the women in my office might also practice and teach, so I could ask her. So we have maybe 2. But what she did ask is, I don't practice yoga. It's not my jam, but I do know that it's a very serious practice and people are drawn to it because they love it. And it's a calling for them. So how would we be able to give them some sort of compensation for their time beyond like, oh, you get to free promote your business. Like the woman in my office, I know she doesn't have a business. I think she does stuff at Holly. So what would we be able to kind of offer for that? Put that out there.
Could it be for her specifically? Could it be considered a sponsorship for the Fitch House?
That's what I was kind of thinking. Like maybe we can really help her promote her yoga practice. I don't know how much she advertises it. I literally only see like the sandwich board she puts up in front of the house when I drop Livia off to school. So I can approach her with some ideas and kind of like, we came up with this idea, but what are other ideas that you have? Like we're open to suggestions.
And Denise, doesn't Kara Workman teach yoga at UConn? Did I make that up?
I don't know if she teaches, but I definitely know she practices, and she's brought up the idea of yoga at the town square previously. So I know it's something that she's interested in. I'm just taking a quick look.
Yeah, why haven't we done yoga at the town square? That sounds so lovely.
So my hometown does like yoga in the street. and they do a couple different sessions. People sign up. I think I put that in my email. Like they just have like a Google form for people to sign up, and they like cap it off so it's not too much. And what they do is it's the I don't remember what they call it now. Springtime. It used to be called the Springtime Festival. Now they call it something different. But like they kick off a road race, and as soon as the racers leave, they set the yoga mats up. People practice yoga for like, because you got like what, 19 minutes before the first runner starts to come through. So they do a quick practice and then they shift out. This year they're doing spinning in the street. I stole a lot of ideas from that. I figured we could start with yoga.
Yeah.
And maybe go to spinning next year and like hit the community center up to borrow some bikes or something. I don't know.
No, I think it's really interesting. And I know from my experience, I worked at a museum for a long time, and we worked with a yoga teacher to offer prior to opening hours, a yoga session in some of our exhibits, where it was sort of like a
Cool.
kind of just like a beautiful location to come in and do yoga in the museum exhibit.
That's cool. Yeah. And I mean, we're doing it during school too. And the amount of students that flock to Horse Barn Hill for sunrise yoga is it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I mean, I couldn't get up that early, but I think it would be a really cool.
I do wonder, so just kind of talking through this, like all of these, it's sort of like a timeline where there's less activity, that then the yoga works well when it's kind of a quieter time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if we were to move forward with this, if there's a way that we might want to schedule it kind of before the festival begins, or because it does get really, there's a lot of activity once everything opens.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking it might be like a nice kickoff to the festival, like before it gets too loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, either right before, or if it happens sometime intermittently, maybe it's just one session. Maybe we just test it with just one session that's 15 minutes long. And if it's beforehand, we could have it on our little green.
That's what I think that would be really nice.
And if there's overspill, then you can go on the hard pavers.
Yeah. Like Denise, I was thinking when you and I drew out the booth spots, after we got done, I feel like there was quite a lull. Like that was kind of quiet, where it was like, wow, we really got that done fast. Now what do we do? And I feel like it could happen on the green there.
Well, and also, because if the farmers market doesn't come till later, maybe even on the grass in front of town hall, that it's a little bit softer underneath than and you know, I don't think it'll be too warm. It's not like we necessarily need shade, but maybe the ground is just a little bit softer than on the bricks of the green there.
That's a good idea. I like the idea of having it be the kickoff.
Yeah.
So yes, that's an idea. I can reach back out to Mia with kind of the idea that it would be the kickoff event, 15 minutes or so. Would you want to sponsor it as the Fitch House, or what other ideas?
Yeah. Do you mind, if possible, can you put me on that email so that if she has any like technical questions, I can kind of be there?
Yeah, I'll be like, and here's Denise.
You know, our office, we've definitely worked with her a lot. So she's very familiar, which is great. Somebody that we know. I did a quick look through the budget, just in case, kind of, just because if she used the word compensation, just kind of thinking, there's not a lot of wiggle room in what we currently have budgeted, but there are a few items where we haven't really nailed down exactly how we're going to use that. It's a little bit of a broader description. So we could potentially, I mean, that's, if she's not interested in it being a sponsorship for her business and like an in-kind offering, there might be another potential. I do just want to put that out there because I did just kind of look through.
Yeah.
But that's another option.
Yeah. And I was thinking of budget as I wrote these down, and I know some of them would not be possible. Then there was the Cornhole Tournament. Killingly is also doing a Cornhole Tournament. And I think that could draw in a lot of people that might not otherwise come. Where we put it, I don't really know. Is that back? So if we come down like over where Grill 86 used to be, that street, do we do anything on that back street where that ice cream place used to be? I don't even know if there's any businesses back there anymore.
Was that where you had the puppet show last time, Denise?
Yep. So I added the map to our packet here. I'm just going to share my screen and I'll kind of talk through some open areas that are kind of not currently planned for. Let me see if I can do this.
And part of that would be, where do we get cornhole stuff? Like, would we ask people to volunteer? Would we make some? Like, I'm not really sure. They can't be that hard to make.
Say, does
Yeah,
the town,
well-
does Parks and Rec have something?
Yeah, so actually the partnership, we have one set. And I
Okay.
know Parks and Rec has, I believe, so I think there is the potential that we could fill this without having to purchase or rent more. I
Nice.
think if we were. So to just kind of talk through things here. The here, this is former Grill 86.
Mhm.
We had a performance spot there last year where it was the Kidsville Cuckoo Review and the Pete Haddad's magic show. And then over here, we had, this is the June Krish Courtyard, June Krish Memorial Courtyard. And so this is right next to,
No.
yeah, exactly. You can see T-Mobile. This is formerly where there was the Amazon store.
Yeah.
So currently we're using this space right up to that crosswalk, and we didn't have anything planned back here. In earlier years, if we go back a few years, this space did have some activity. For instance, when we had the climbing wall, it was set up back here. So this is sort of an open area. And yeah, I think that's the only one that I would say that we currently, now we could move other things around, but this is the only spot that's not currently planned for.
And that's a big enough space. You could have 2 games going at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I'm just going to be blunt. I am always a fan of less complicated if possible. So if we were to bring in something like this, I just want to make sure, like, see if we could find somebody who was really into it, who would want to be like the focal point, kind of lead, kind of MC of whatever the competition was. Because that's where I feel like I don't want to commit and say, yes, we're definitely going to add this other thing. And then we have to find somebody to be the person to do it. So I'm
Right.
sorry. So that's, I
No,
know I
that's
sometimes
okay.
sound
Totally
like a
get
negative
it.
Nelly, where I'm like, but
And I'm not going to be here to be like, oh, I'll just do it.
I do like the idea, and people do love cornhole. That is something, if I were to go through, because I have a list of what each booth has offered, each of the activity booths, a lot of booths use things like cornhole or other beanbag type throws at their booths. That's a pretty popular one.
Well, I was going to ask, like, could we make it, like, could a booth help us run the tournament? Like, could it be someone's booth activity to like manage the tournament? I don't know.
What about the that gym inside Eastbrook Mall?
Oh yeah.
No,
I also-
that's an interesting idea, and that would give us that person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then there was a 5K race, which I know comes with heavy logistics. Sean Vasington was like, we could use the Yukon course. which wouldn't really interfere much with the festival, but then it also draws people away from the festival. So I don't know, maybe that's just something that we can have on the back burner, and maybe that's something we pursue more next year.
I feel like that could be like the yoga. It could be a fun, like right before the kickoff of the festival, especially if we can get UConn to like, if we can do it using the UConn route. It
Yeah.
could be like, come to UConn for this run, and then like, I don't know, after you run, don't you want to go eat?
Yeah.
Get something
Get
to
some
eat
ice
out.
cream, play some games, listen
Play,
to some
play some
music.
cornhole. Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like that could be, if we timed it right, that could be like, make a day of it, like run your race.
And the festival starts at 2 p.m. Right?
I have a question, because I have the map in front of me. But for something like the cornhole, does it have to be in this exact area, or is that something we could possibly use the E.O. Smith tennis courts for? Or is that too far away from the festival?
Yeah, no, we definitely can look outside of this downtown stores area. For instance, the farmers market is on the town green, and we do kind of promote it as an activity, like come to the festival and visit the farmers market as part of your day.
Right. But, you know, for the cornhole, it's a contained area. It's a smooth surface. It's an option. It's just something to consider.
Mhm. For the 5K, should we ask Kyle about that? Or Sean to kind of see what we could do?
Like in regards to
Can we use their
working with UConn or use
Yeah, can we use their
thinking-
course in
Like Kyle
Um,
and Kara might be, I mean, Kara might be good too, because I think
Yeah.
she specifically mentioned, I feel like at the last board meeting, she brought up again, like, I'm always talking about doing a 5Ks, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah, she probably would be the one to organize the event because
Yeah.
she's the event planner. Because that could be really fun, and they could, I don't remember how they've changed it, but it used to start on right in front of alumni. And then you could just funnel people downtown, and that would even bring probably more people outside of Mansfield to come.
that's what I was kind of thinking, like, that might be enough of a draw for like local runners to come for that race.
Yeah.
I always kind of think it would be nice if UConn was like, if there was more of a UConn involvement
Connection.
in Celebrate Mansfield, like a connection. And this feels like it could be that, especially if we work with them to plan it right before. And then I think, like you were saying, if there's a way to make, I don't know the routes, I'm not a runner, but if there's a way to make the race kind of end in downtown stores or near downtown stores, that's a really
Mhm.
nice, like, let's Celebrate
I
Mansfield.
wonder if they could tweak it so that, say, people come down from alumni and then the kitty corner in front of the School of Fine Arts between the south lot, and then come down Bolton and you dump right
there.
into- That would be really nice.
That would be cool.
Anyway, so we can look into that. Then there's a parade. I think we used to do a parade, but parades are like, and it's weird, and I don't know, but maybe.
Well, here, let me just talk through. So again, like, I don't want to be negative on everything. I think everything has like, these are strong ideas and people do love them. So just to give you a background on the parade at this event, there was a parade that sort of started off the festival for many years. There were some members of the committee that really were the focal points for that. And they really planned and coordinated all of the participants. The last few years of the parade, there was a real decline in audience. So especially the last year, there were significantly more people in the parade than watching the parade. So that's where it started to feel to the committee and the organization that the amount of effort that went into the parade really wasn't it just was more than was necessary. So
Not getting
that's
it.
why.
Yeah, the ROI doesn't equal.
Exactly. So,
And
so that's why it got cut out.
And I mean, we're a big town land wise, but I don't feel like we're a big town people wise. So it makes sense. And then like an antique car show or something like that could be something that maybe we could use the parking lot at EO Smith and people can park their cars. We charge a fee and people can check out, people love looking at old cars or any car. It could just be a car show,
That's what I
period.
was gonna say. Maybe even that's something you want to entice Champagne with, is just make it a car show, because they forever have like, top-notch cars parked there.
We are absolutely in the same mind. So I had actually already, as part of reaching out to Champagne for sponsorship, part of that ask was going to be sort of an offer with your sponsorship. Would you like to display one of your cars on site at the festival? So that was already in my mind as sort of part of that. I'm not sure. I would need to double check for the EO Smith parking lot how much we've used in the past, because it is guest parking. That's another
Yeah,
area
I park there,
where we
gotta
do.
be honest.
So, but I think it definitely is doable, kind of starting small scale, especially reaching out to Champagne and the car dealerships to see if we can start with a few cars
Mhm.
on display. And then I think what we can do, to go back, sorry, I'm turning, I know you guys can't see what I'm looking at. I'm sorry. The site plan, some of the areas where we have booths, that's potentially where we could park one or two vehicles. And that's where kind of playing with the combination of booths and displays, because it essentially is the booth for the business. If they're going to have a car there, that's their display, their booth. So yeah, I see a lot of potential from that side of it.
And even just throwing this out, I see pros and cons racing through my head right now. But is the upper level of the parking garage open? Like, is there basically, if there's no roof of any type on the upper level?
Yes, yep.
So
Yeah, it's open, yes.
So even if that's somewhere to do the end, I mean, people would have to go up the steps, takes them a little bit out, but people love cars. So I think people would be willing to do it if they knew that there's a car show and that's a big open area parking lot. It would just be a matter, I don't know who parks up there, but maybe blocking it the night before.
Is that the Oaks parking for the students?
Is
Yeah.
it okay.
So, well, but again, I don't think that completely cuts it out. So right now, so the kind of half of the third floor of the garage through the top is parking for Oaks residents and a few other individuals. So it's basically, it's those people that have long-term parking in and out of the garage. That does get closed at certain times of the year. So I think if we wanted to go that route, kind of the first step would be kind of to work with the parking garage to find out how many of those passes are currently being used to how many spaces would be available, basically. So that would be the first step if we were going to go that route. And I know the other question, again, this is not to put it out. We had previously looked into doing an event on the garage rooftop. And I know I met with the fire marshal and the building inspector. So I think it would be following back with them on what we would need to have up there. Or if we would need to limit, like if we could have it open, but just kind of with a specific kind of cap for the capacity of the number of people that can be there at one time.
Right. Okay.
So I think there are options. We would just need to kind of check into logistically what we would need to do to be able to do that.
That would be neat to have an event.
I'm just talking you guys through what my job is. This
Yeah.
is what I do.
No, that's really cool. But I think even like you were saying, having some cars like sprinkled throughout as booths or in the EO Smith lot, like y'all originally said, could be really neat. And it does seem like the antique car thing would draw people from around the state, who might not normally seek this out. I feel like antique cars is a niche, hobby. So that could be really neat just to see if we could get a couple there this year.
Yeah. And they do one in Pomfret every Sunday or Thursday, and it's a lot of antique cars, but then there's like people just have like like a 96 Mustang that they'll like open it up. It could be anything, or
Is that the one
maybe,
up by like 44, 101?
yeah, it's right at the corner, right by Baker's Dozen.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
That's true.
And they get a ton of people show up.
Yeah.
It's random. Like, I don't think you have to pay for it. People just like bring their cars.
Yeah. Yeah, the town that actually, Emily, so the town that I used to live in, where actually Emily lives currently, they have a summer once a week or twice a month cruise to their town green with antique cars and historic
I didn't
cars.
even know that.
I'm not sure if it
Wow.
came back last year with the pandemic, but it's super popular. So I
Keep
would
an eye out
bet
this
Cruise to
summer.
the Green will be back this summer. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm really familiar, and like, yeah, I've definitely seen the way that those draw crowds. I mean, it's always exciting to see that number
And
of
it's
people.
all
So,
ages too. It's
Mhm.
not just like a set age group. You've got men, women, every age group. It's definitely a popular thing.
nice.
Well,
So I
these are
do
all
wanna
really
just come
exciting
back-
ideas.
Oh, just super quickly, just to put it out there, just that we know, I did look into the climbing walls. And I'm going to recommend that we hold off on that until 2023, just so we can start the budget with it. Because we did spend in 2019, it was $1,500 for the company that we worked with. And then I did a little looking around online, and the least expensive I could find was $1,200. So I think that would be challenging for us to find in the current budget, but we could definitely plan for 2023. Like, that's something we definitely want to bring back.
Great.
Unless you guys feel really strongly, and then we just would need to really reconfigure things, but there's always a possibility.
Nope, totally fine.
Unless there's like a sponsor that like wants to make that their thing. Like I guess I had thought like, oh, was that the adventure park that brought the climbing wall? But I didn't realize it was you all that like got a separate company. But I think it makes sense to hold off.
But that's always a great idea, is this can be kind of a nice nugget for a specific sponsor. I think, and again, this is just on my end, kind of looking at if we're reaching out to these sponsors, asking them if we're adding something to the budget, sort of asking them to cover that new thing as well as what their contribution would have been to the normal budget.
Yeah.
Which for some businesses, I mean, that's worth it.
Well, I think these are all exciting ideas that we can follow up on. And, even if I doubt we'll do all of them, but I think even just one or two could be something neat to add to kind of our activities list.
Well, and I think too.
Oops, sorry, Andrea. Go ahead.
That's fine. I was going to say, with the fact that we're starting to build it up again after COVID, I think each year being able to maybe add something to it a little bit more and watch it build is really, they're great ideas. And I think little by little, we could just start adding them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And thank you. Oh, sorry. I just want to put it out quickly. Thank you for putting this list together and sending it, because I think it's great to kind of see them all together, because it gives us, I think, the inspiration for what could be, which I think is great.
So I'll reach back out to Mia and I'll connect her with you, Denise. And then do you all want me to reach out to Kara? I know she's on the board as well, but I don't mind reaching out if that takes something off somebody's plate.
For the 5K?
Yeah, for the 5K, sorry.
Yeah, I think just because I know that it came up at other discussions within the board, I don't mind doing that outreach, because it can also be part of, we're currently in a 3-year strategic plan. So I know the development of activities and programs specifically that are drawing different members of the community is sort of part of that plan. So that might connect. So I don't mind doing that outreach for the 5K.
And the yoga and runners, it draws different crowds. So even if they happened at the same time or they overlapped a little
So
bit,
that's what I'm kind of thinking. That could just be like a cool opening, like come for a run or come for yoga.
yeah. And I don't think Mansfield's doing their summer 5K anymore. They used to do one for the playground, to raise funds for the playground and maintenance. And I don't think they've done that since 19, maybe 18. So it'd be nice to have another community one brought back.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're running late and I thank you guys. I just want to put out, did anybody have any other ideas? Just in case there's something on the top of your head where you're like, oh, what about X?
That was my guilt list for
I was gonna
forgetting
say-
I'm not going to be available.
That was a solid list. So I
Yeah.
can't think
I
of
mean,
anything.
if we have
sorry.
anything, we can always email it in too, so.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. If you think of something else, shoot me an email and I'll do exactly what I did. I'll save it for the next committee meeting and we can kind
Yeah,
of
that's
talk about
great.
it with the group.
Okay,
Okay. Great. Well, are we good to adjourn this meeting?
yes,
I
Okay.
think so.
Second, Christine. Yes.
Got it.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
okay,
Well, then
Bye.
we'll see everyone in May.
May.
Wow. Okay.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
All right. Have a great
Bye.
evening. Bye.
Thank you guys so much.